Alright, our cemented silver is from our previous electrolyte. It has been filtered and dried. I have filtered our fresh electrolyte. It is ready to rock. Look at how nice and clear it is. Looks gorgeous. By the time we're done with the crystal, unfortunately, we still have to run this. So that's kind of a bummer. Ideally, I'd like to just run the pure crystal and end up with a clear solution afterwards. But that's not how it worked out. We still have a few hundred grams to work through. So that'll be fine. We can still cycle it. There's plenty of fresh electrolyte that'll get us through this process, no problem. So let's set this back up here. Apply our clips. We have a fresh basket all made up. And yeah, I'm just gonna set that in there, let that soak up. You don't want to just push it down because it'll displace the solution and could make something overflow. So you always want to be patient, let that soak up. And now let's fill our basket up here. This material is what I pulled out of the basket earlier, plus what we had left over. So you'll see some of it is kind of dingy, some of it's bright and shiny. The dingy stuff was sitting in the basket, some of it being dissolved. I don't think I'm going to be able to get all this back in there. But I should be able to get this within a couple hours. I'm going to get this jar of crystal out of the way. Alright, we have our fresh electrolyte. We have our negative leads connected. We have our positive lead here with our anode bar. And that's that. I think we're all set. One last look around. Power. Alright, let's hit the juice here and fire it up. Alright, looks good, looks good. And we should start to see some fresh crystal growth within seconds. Ah, yes, there's the little sparkles. All right. All right. Well, then, I think it's time to just let this thing do its job, and we'll check on it periodically. Once I'm done with this shot, I have 3 ounces more that I want to run from a previous batch that I'm going to toss in there at the end. Other than that, run this. I'll check back in when we start doing the crystal. After the crystal's done, I am going to, well, in the meantime, I will melt this, turn this into shot. After the crystal is done, this batch is complete. I'm going to withdraw and harvest it all, fire this thing back up again, and we'll run this last bit of shot. It's only like 200 grams there. So But no sense in having 200 grams of cemented silver sitting around when we could have it in crystal form. So. All right, we'll check back in a little bit. Well, we're to a point that our anode is starting to get to the edge of being submerged. We've gone through all of our material, and I'm at a point where I need to add some more, otherwise my anode's going to get buried during the process. So I'm going to take, I have 3 ounces weighed up from a previous batch. It was basically the last increments, just like what you're seeing here, of a previous batch. So instead of letting it run down straight into the solution, I just pull that last little bit off. So I'm going to add some now in order to get me down all the way to the bottom. Well, in order to effectively run this portion of the material through the silver cell. So I'm just adding to the pot of it. And then when we know this has run down into the solution, we will begin to run our silver crystal. We will begin to run the silver crystal that we've already harvested for the second time. I'll get better at doing these videos. Alright, and with that done, I'm going to fire up the power on our DC power supply, and I'm also going to fire up the melt furnace that we have here and melt down this 190 grams of cement silver in the shot, and we'll run that through after we finish this batch. So let's get this hooked back up. Power. Perfect. Back in action. All right. Check back with you soon. All right. Well, we have cycled through our entire batch of silver shot. I added an extra 3 ounces to our basket to get us above the electrolyte line, and we have completely dissolved all of that into the basket, and now it's starting to go into solution. So I'm going to pull the pin on this where we're at here, and we're going to open this up and see how our silver's looking. Just let that drain out a little bit here. Doesn't have to drain completely. Anything that drips out in here, I just pour back in the end here. Get out of the way. And you can see our basket filter wicks, pulls the solution up and out and wicks it like a what? I was going to say like a candle. Well, it doesn't wick it like a candle, but it wicks it up like the process of wicking does. Anyhow, it creates these crystal particles here. We're going to rinse off. Wicks it like a candle. You can see how just the dirt, it's not dirt, it's actually just the electrolyte drying out and staining everything. This silver nitrate, man oh man, does it stain. All the splashes you see on here, it's all from silver nitrate, mostly just from me spraying this and droplets getting splashed back onto onto various areas. See how dirty our tray is. That's just simply, you can see it's just mostly just tiny little speckles. That's just from the blowback off of this rinsing procedure here. But, well, here we have it. Our silver crystal, and it looks fantastic. You see, it's a lot hardier when you have the proper electrolyte. And she's quite heavy. Let's see if I can get you a closer look here. A lot has fallen to the bottom. This bowl is odd, and I don't know why, but like 3/4 of the way down, you see, like, I don't know how good you could pick that up, but there's a band of where the crystals really don't grow. You know, they bonded to the edge, but then that's it. They stay flat and compressed, and nothing really seems to grow, continue to grow in that same area, where up here you see that it completely builds up and builds these nice fat crystals. And then down below, not so much. So, well, down below at that bottom rim. There, I touched it again. But anyway, I'm going to pour this solution off. We're going to use this electrolyte further. It still has a long ways to go. There is a bit of copper in it, but we can push it quite a bit harder than we have so far. And what we're going to do next is run our silver crystal through our solution again, just to guarantee that it's beyond 3/9 fine, and that will not introduce any more copper or any other elements into the solution. So the solution should pretty much stay the same throughout the rest of the process now. But, I need to start by pouring this off. Switch this over to here. Change my hand position. Easy. Set this aside, and I am going to give this a quick flush here. Get the bulk of our electrolyte out. Anything else past this point that we pour off will be separated from our electrolyte and collected and processed later. So let's get top on our electrolyte here. I don't want to introduce any foreign matter into it. And let's take a closer look here at our silver. Some beautiful, nice, chunky crystals. Really looks great. I just can't tell you how beautiful these things look. The cameras just do not do it justice. It's like taking a picture of a million broken mirrors, and all you get is, in this light, all you get is a white shine. If I take it out of this light and try to take a picture, all I get is the black of the shop ceiling. So nice big chunky bits. So let's start cleaning this out here. I'm gonna just wash it down. What I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna wash it down real well. Pour all the wash water. We'll scrape the crystals down and then wash those in hot water. They don't have to be perfect yet, because they are going to be reintroduced into the system. Once we're finally done, they have to be washed and cleaned very thoroughly. And I'm gonna have to get a beaker here to pour this in. And whenever you're working with this stuff, you always want to use clean beakers. And although I've already cleaned this one here, I'm gonna clean it again because it's just been sitting around here for a day or two, and you just don't want to by accident introduce something that isn't supposed to be there, namely hydrochloric acid, because that would not be good in our solution. And at this point, we can heat up some water. You know what? Why don't we just... Normally, it's a separate process. I heat it up and put it in a different vessel and wash it all off, but this is such a nice, cool little tiny thing that I'm just going to turn the heat on here and heat our water right in this vessel. So let me pour some distilled water in here. Definitely still want to use distilled water. Pretty rare that I use anything but. The only time that I do is to pour molten metal into shot. Then I can just use regular tap water. But otherwise, distilled water it is around here. Now, alright, and we have a little bit of our rinse water that we took off here. I'm going to pour that into a smaller beaker. Better to observe our potential reaction. Say we should put a few drops of hydrochloric acid in there and see what happens. You see, it's pretty clear. You wouldn't think that there's a lot of silver in that solution, but we're going to give it a test. The only thing I have to make sure about is while this is heating up that I do not introduce any of this hydrochloric acid into our procedure here. And as a matter of fact, after I do this, I'll be changing my gloves, and I'm just going to toss those and whatever else. So give me a second and I'll get set up. Alright, I went and grabbed some hydrochloric acid, and I'd say this is a good way to test if you actually cleaned your crystal well enough. The last little bits of rinse water, you can drop a little hydrochloric acid in and see if you can get a reaction. Since this was basically the first or second pour off of our solution, I'm going to say it's safe to bet that we're going to have a little bit of silver in here. Let's put a few drops in and see what happens. Boom. Yeah, I'd say it's safe to say that we still have silver in solution in our rinse water. Instant reaction. Now, if this would somehow get dumped into our electrolyte, oh man, wrecked. I have to basically start over and with different procedures to carry forward. It is cool. It is cool to mess with. Good reaction. All right, back to work. I'm going to clean this up, dispose of this in the proper area, and change my gloves. Our rinse water is getting pretty hot now. So stir it around a bit, make sure we're getting in between all the pieces. Nice big chunky bits. How well the camera picks it up. As I look at the screen, it looks pretty white, pretty clear. But with my own eyes, I do see a hint of color, a light hint of green in the solution. So if we did our hydrochloric test again, it would definitely come up with a positive result. So. And I just checked the temperature. It's about 140 degrees. So these gloves don't offer me much protection as far as the heat goes. So I tend to put on these extra pair here whenever I'm dealing with something hot. They protect me from a bit of heat. However, they have a mesh back, so they do not protect me from say a chemical spill or anything like that. So that's why I keep, in case you're wondering why I keep the other gloves on underneath. Pour this off, and we are going to save this rinse water for a future experiment. As I mentioned earlier, we don't have to have this part of the batch perfect. However, we don't want to get sloppy. And we are going to dry this material. I wouldn't want to dry it with any substantial amount of electrolyte still within the crystal. So I'm going to heat this batch up again. And we're going to rinse this one more time. Then I'm going to dry it right in here, and we're going to get the silver cell set back up and proceed again and run our batch through a second time to guarantee a purity of above 3/9 fine. Well, we're finally down to the end of our second run. Our crystal is starting to be submerged in solution here. So I want to clean this up a little bit here. And we're going to top it off with some of our silver shot, just so we can make sure it's all run through. Off. So I just want to clear this out of the way first. Knock down any crystals that are growing towards our anode. Things are getting pretty messy in here. This silver can be pretty sloppy. I'll be happy to clean this out. Alright, this is going to be our third and hopefully final harvest of this stuff here. I believe that we should be able to work out. There's still a few ounces of silver left in our basket, but we should be able to go through that without having to clean this out yet. But we're getting there. I keep knocking some of these big ones down into the basket. But it's getting pretty dense down there. Dang it all. Just splattered that electrolyte all over. That'll cause some nice marks. It's looking very beautiful though. That's basically it then. I just wanted to make sure that that wasn't going to interfere with the process here. Load this up. So yeah, just if I bump it, you can see that the level is just so it's about all submerged in our electrolyte. So, and I don't want our anode to just sit in that fluid like it was. So I'm going to top it off here. With a bit of our silver shot. That'll raise this level enough that by the time this gets down into the solution, we will have dissolved all of our silver. You know, I can just put the rest of it here. Once this becomes submerged, we will be done with this run. Alright. Connections, leads, power. Alright. Then I'll check back in when this is fully submerged and we'll do our final harvest for this batch. Alright, we've come time to, let me turn the power off here, come time to empty this baby out. I've let the silver shot go down to the level of our electrolyte. I loaded it back up again with an additional, well, a total of 9 ounces. So we still have a good 5 ounces packed in here. But we have officially burnt up all of our silver crystal from the first batch, so we have completely run it through. And now we're going to take a look at this final clean out that we have here to harvest. We didn't have any color change in our solution. Running all of that, more than probably about a kilo of silver back through it again. Just till the very end, it started to gain a little bit more color once we started burning into the shot that we put in. So, but it's definitely starting to build up. I would have liked to keep going. That's one downfall about having this little bowl, is that it's a bit more maintenance, and you can't let the bottom crystals grow as deep, as thick. But we still have a lot of nice crystal in here. Beautiful stuff. So get a little closer look real quick. Nice chunky crystal in here. Alright, so now it's time to pour this stuff off here. Clear some of this stuff out of our way here. And I'm going to pour the solution off. Our electrolyte looks really good yet. It still has a lot of life left in it. So I am going to continue exhausting this solution, our electrolyte, with the remaining shot that we cemented out somewhere during the middle of this process. Oh, from our last electrolyte. There's a few hundred grams of shot that we got from that we're gonna run through at least once through this electrolyte, and I'll probably save that or to use in our next electrolyte experiment. So, just gonna give this one good rinse here. We got as much of the main concentration of our solution out of here as possible. Cold water just to give it a flush. I think we've gone through quite a few of these already. So as this as our distilled water heats up, I'll finish scraping this off of here, and I guess I'll tune back in with the camera once we have our silver washed completely. And maybe I'll even dry it off, and we'll just go straight from. We can get a look. We can get an idea of what we're looking at right here. Some good, nice, chunky crystals. And yeah, I guess I'll wash this off, dry the whole batch up, and then we'll tune back in and maybe take a weight. I thought one last test maybe we want to look at that we kind of talked about before. I've gone through 2 washes of hot water. Well, 2 400 milliliter flasks of hot water. So about 8 washes so far. So we have, you see, we have a little bit of float silver sitting in there. Drop that down. Not be able to see any precipitate that drops. And we'll put a couple drips of hydrochloric acid in here. You see, it remains nice and clear, other than steaming up from the heat. Yeah. No silver chlorides are forming, and I think we're looking good. So I'm going to rinse this out, give it one more rinse in cold water, and then we will be done. Then I'm going to get this stuff dried off and we'll take a closer look at it. Look at this pan. I'll be happy to clean all this up. Alright, we've reached the end of this batch, and we are now all set to get our weight. So let's get right to it. I was a little worried at first that about our yield, but I think we're looking all right. Definitely feels like more than a kilo. All right, let's just get started here. All right. 300. Whoa, get out of here. Almost right on the button. Huh. Well, here we go. Turns out we had 1,201 grams. Almost 1,200 on the button. That's pretty amazing. Let's see, we started with... we started with 1,363 grams of 90% silver, and we ended up with 1,200. Let's see, 90% silver would have been 1,226 grams. So perhaps not quite 90%. It looks like we lost right around 25 grams then of our expected weight. So that's not too bad. Yeah, within 25 grams. That is not bad. So here we are. Fantastic. I'm glad to be done with this batch. I'm going to be happy to send it out to Lauren. I know he's excited to check out his silver crystal. And speaking of checking out, make sure you check out Lauren's work at Outlaw Coin Creations. I'll have his Instagram link in the description. Make sure you see his work, because he does some fantastic stuff. You won't believe it. Well, let me just say thank you for joining me again on one of my videos here. I know this is going to be another long one. I had a lot of steps over and over, but that's just kind of showing the process and showing how many steps it takes. You know, I'm going to condense this down into however long it is, but it was days and days worth of work. So, and maintenance. So I'll try to condense it down as much as I can in future videos. Once I've put all these out where they're long and stretched out, I'll try to condense them even more. So, you know, and just, you can trust me when I say I rinsed it 3 times. I rinsed it 3 times instead of showing each one. But if you made it this far, thank you very much. I hope you hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't. That's going to help my channel to grow. Make sure that there's interest out there, and hopefully I'll continue to make these videos better and better. I guess that's it. We're signing off. Kilo of fresh silver crystal. Dense, heavy, very nice. Good chunky bits. Alright, I'm Jeff, and this is Lithic Metals. We'll see you next time.